Admiral Marcus Vex stood before the enormous crystal screens that filled the Hegemony Council chamber. The chamber was a wonder to see, carved from a single massive asteroid that floated in empty space between star systems. His 4 arms were folded behind his back as he spoke to the representatives of 12 different alien civilizations who had gathered for this important meeting. The chamber itself showed the power of the hegemony. The walls were made of crystal that had been shaped and polished until they were perfectly smooth. Lights from distant stars shone through the transparent walls, creating patterns of color that moved slowly across the floor. Everything about the place was designed to show visitors that the hegemony possessed technology far beyond what most species could imagine. The human expansion into Sector 7 cannot be allowed to continue, Vex declared, his voice bouncing off the crystal walls and reaching every corner of the chamber. These primitive creatures have built colonies in space that has belonged to the hegemony for over 3,000 years. Around the chamber, representatives from different worlds watched and listened. Some had multiple eyes, others had skin that changed color, and a few looked almost like humans except for small details that marked them as alien. All of them were much more advanced than the humans they were discussing. Council leader TSS sat in a chair that floated above the floor without any visible support. He was tall and thin, with skin so clear that you could see light pulsing through it in patterns that showed his mood. He leaned forward with interest as he considered Vex's words. "What do you suggest we do, Admiral?" TSS asked. "Starting a full military war seems like too much trouble for such a young species. They have only been traveling in space for a few decades." Vex touched a control surface, and suddenly the air above the chamber filled with a 3-dimensional image of Earth and the solar system around it. The image was so detailed that you could see the blue oceans and white clouds on the human homeworld. "Not a war, Council leader," Vex replied with confidence. "A demonstration. We send them our most advanced weapon, but we do not use it to destroy anything. Instead, we use it to teach them a lesson about our power." Excited whispers filled the chamber as Vex explained his plan in more detail. The quantum cascade bomb was the most sophisticated weapon the hegemony had ever created. It worked by changing the basic structure of space and time itself. In full power mode, it could destroy entire star systems. But Vex wanted to use it differently. "We will set the weapon for a controlled explosion that will not cause any real damage," Vex explained. "The bomb will detonate exactly 1,000 kilometers above their largest city. The explosion will be visible from anywhere on their planet, but it will not hurt anyone." The display showed how the weapon would create a brilliant light show in Earth's sky, beautiful but harmless. It would be impossible for humans to ignore, and it would clearly demonstrate that the hegemony could destroy them anytime they wanted to. Dr. Zara Mills, who was the hegemony's chief weapons engineer, raised one of her 6 tentacles to ask a question. Her species looked somewhat like octopuses but much larger and more intelligent. "Admiral, the quantum cascade technology took our best scientists centuries to develop. Are we sure we want to show this capability to a species we know nothing about?" Vex's mandibles clicked together in the sound his species made when they were amused. It was not a pleasant sound. "Doctor, these humans are still using chemical rockets that burn fuel to push themselves through space. They fight with metal bullets and explosive chemicals. They could not understand our technology even if we gave them complete instruction manuals." Other council members nodded in agreement. From their perspective, humans were barely more advanced than primitive animals. The idea that humans could pose any kind of threat to hegemony technology was laughable. Council leader TSS considered the proposal for several moments, his bioluminescent skin patterns shifting as he thought. "Very well, Admiral. You may proceed with your demonstration. But make sure the message is absolutely clear. They must submit to hegemony authority or face serious consequences." Within just a few hours, the most advanced weapon in galactic history was being prepared for launch. The bomb itself was incredibly beautiful, a perfect sphere made of crystal that seemed to glow with its own internal light. Inside the crystal were quantum field generators that could literally tear holes in the fabric of reality. The weapon was loaded onto a stealth transport ship that was invisible to human detection systems. The ship was designed to travel faster than light and could cross the galaxy in days rather than years. Dr. Mills supervised the final preparations, making sure that the weapon was configured for demonstration rather than destruction. "The quantum field generators are set for minimum yield," she reported. "The explosion will be spectacular but harmless." Admiral Vex watched the launch from the bridge of his command ship. The stealth transport disappeared in a flash of light as it jumped into faster-than-light travel, carrying its precious cargo toward the human solar system. "In 3 days the humans will see what real power looks like," Vex said with satisfaction. Then they will beg us for mercy and agree to abandon their illegal colonies. He was confident that humanity would soon be begging for forgiveness and agreeing to become servants of the mighty hegemony. After all, what could primitive humans possibly do against the most advanced weapon in the galaxy? Dr. Emily Carter stood in the emergency command center deep underground beneath NORAD Mountain. The room was filled with computer screens, flashing lights, and the constant hum of electronic equipment. Around her, military officers, scientists, and engineers moved quickly between workstations, all trying to understand the strange object that was approaching Earth from deep space. The facility had been built during the Cold War to survive nuclear attacks, but now it was being used for something no one had ever planned for: humanity's first contact with an alien weapon. The thick concrete walls and steel doors that had once been meant to keep out radiation were now protecting the people working to save the entire planet. General Robert Hayes stood near the main display screen, his weathered face showing the stress of command. He had spent 30 years in the military, but nothing had prepared him for this situation. "Dr. Carter, how much time do we have before that thing reaches us?" Colonel Lisa Martinez looked up from her tracking station, where multiple screens showed the incoming object's path through space. 36 hours at its current speed, sir. But here's the strange part: it's not trying to hide from us at all. The object is broadcasting its location and approach on multiple radio frequencies. Dr. Carter moved closer to the main display, studying the energy readings that her instruments were picking up from the alien device. She was a small woman with graying hair, but her eyes showed the sharp intelligence that had made her one of Earth's leading weapons physicists. "General, I don't think this weapon is designed to destroy us," Carter said, pointing to the energy patterns on her screen. "Look at these power readings. They're configured for demonstration, not complete destruction." Professor David Kim hurried over from his workstation to join the discussion. He was Earth's leading expert on theoretical physics, and he had been studying the alien device since it was first detected. "Emily is absolutely right. This appears to be some kind of quantum manipulation device, but it's set for minimum power output. They're trying to frighten us, not kill us." General Hayes frowned as he tried to understand what this meant for Earth's defense. "So what do you recommend we do, Doctor? We can't just ignore an alien weapon heading toward our planet." Dr. Carter smiled, which was not the expression General Hayes had expected from someone looking at an incoming alien superweapon. "I recommend we catch it." The entire room fell silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing and turned to stare at Dr. Carter. The idea seemed so crazy that no one knew how to respond. Colonel Martinez was the first person to find her voice. "Catch it? Emily, that thing could destroy an entire city even if it's set to minimum power. Are you suggesting we try to capture an alien weapon?" "Exactly," Carter replied, moving to her own computer terminal and bringing up calculations she had been working on. "This object represents technology that is centuries ahead of anything we have ever seen. Instead of letting the aliens demonstrate their superiority over us, we capture their weapon, study how it works, and show them what humans can do when we get our hands on advanced technology." Professor Kim's eyes grew wide as he began to understand what Carter was suggesting. It's like a technological jujitsu move. Instead of trying to fight their strength directly, we use their own power against them. General Hayes looked skeptical about the entire plan. "Doctor, you're talking about intercepting an alien superweapon using technology that they probably think is primitive and worthless." Carter's smile grew even wider as she explained her thinking. "General, primitive technology has advantages that they probably never considered. We're not going to try to out-tech them with better equipment. We're going to outthink them with better ideas." She brought up diagrams showing how human spacecraft and satellites could be used in ways their designers never intended. "Human engineering is different from alien engineering. We build things that can be modified, adapted, and used for purposes they were never designed for. That's our advantage." Within 12 hours of Carter's proposal, every major space agency, defense contractor, and research institution on Earth was working together on her plan. The International Space Station was rapidly being converted into an interception platform. Emergency modifications were being made to turn the space station into a giant catching device. Meanwhile, SpaceX, NASA, and other space agencies were preparing emergency rocket launches to position capture equipment in Earth's orbit. Satellites were being reprogrammed, space telescopes were being turned into tracking devices, and even commercial communication satellites were being enlisted in the effort. Dr. Carter coordinated the massive global effort from her position in the NORAD command center. She knew that humanity would only get one chance to turn what could be their greatest threat into their greatest opportunity. If they failed, the aliens would probably send something much more dangerous next time. Engineers worked around the clock to build capture nets from materials never intended for such use. Scientists calculated orbital mechanics using computer programs designed for completely different purposes. Military officers coordinated with civilian agencies in ways that had never been attempted before. As Carter watched the frantic preparations, she realized that humanity's response to the alien threat was itself a demonstration of what made humans different from other species. When faced with an impossible problem, humans didn't just accept defeat, they improvised, adapted, and found ways to turn disadvantages into advantages. The alien weapon was still approaching, but now Carter was almost looking forward to its arrival. The capture operation worked better than anyone had dared to hope. Using a mixture of magnetic nets, gravity tethers, and simple rocket engines, the human team managed to catch the alien weapon just 40,000 kilometers away from Earth. Dr. Carter stood in the control room, watching through cameras mounted on satellites as the beautiful crystalline bomb was slowly and carefully moved toward the moon. The research facility on the lunar surface had been built in record time. Teams of engineers and construction workers had worked for weeks without rest to create a laboratory that could safely contain and study the most advanced weapon ever seen by human eyes. The facility was buried deep under the moon's surface, protected by layers of rock and metal in case something went wrong. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, Carter's lead engineer, could barely contain her excitement as she got her first close look at the alien device. "This is incredible," she whispered, staring at the weapon through the thick protective glass. "The quantum field generators alone represent technology we probably won't develop for another 100 years. Carter put on a protective suit and entered the sterile examination chamber where the bomb was being held. The weapon was more beautiful than any human creation she had ever seen. It was a perfect sphere made of some kind of crystal material that seemed to bend light around itself in impossible ways. When she looked at it directly, the edges seemed to blur and shift. Internal scans using the most advanced equipment on Earth revealed a maze of quantum circuitry inside the crystal sphere. The patterns were so complex that they looked like artwork created by an alien mind that thought in completely different ways than humans. Dr. Michael Torres, the team systems analyst, studied the scan results with growing understanding. "The design is elegant but very rigid," he observed. "Every single component is designed and built for one specific function. There's no backup systems, no flexibility, no way to adapt if something changes." Professor Kim joined their discussion through a video link from Earth, where he was coordinating with other research teams. "That inflexibility is actually an advantage for us," he explained. "Human engineering philosophy is completely different from what we're seeing here. We build things expecting them to break and we make sure they keep working anyway." The reverse engineering process took 3 months of the most intensive scientific work in human history. Teams of scientists and engineers worked around the clock in shifts, not just trying to understand how the alien technology worked, but figuring out how it could be made better. Dr. Walsh made the first major breakthrough while studying the quantum field generators that powered the weapon. "Look at this design," she said excitedly, pointing to her computer screen. "They're using a fixed resonance frequency for the quantum fields. The frequency never changes. But if we add variable harmonic modulators to the system..." Carter immediately understood what Walsh was suggesting. "We can make it adaptive," she finished. "Instead of producing one predetermined explosion with fixed power, it could adjust its strength in real time depending on what it encounters." After that first breakthrough, the improvements came rapidly. Human concepts of modular design allowed them to make the weapon's components interchangeable, so parts could be swapped out or replaced as needed. They added redundant systems that would ensure the weapon continued functioning even if major components were damaged or destroyed. Most importantly, they added something that the aliens had apparently never considered: the ability for the weapon to build copies of itself using materials it found during its mission. Dr. Torres explained the changes to the assembled team of researchers. "The aliens built a precision instrument designed to do one job perfectly. We're turning it into something like a Swiss Army knife that can also build copies of itself using whatever materials are available." Captain Amanda Foster, who served as the military liaison between the research team and Earth's defense forces, watched the modifications with growing amazement and concern. "Doctors, you've essentially turned their demonstration weapon into a factory that can produce unlimited numbers of advanced weapons." Carter nodded seriously. "That's exactly what we've done. But we're not stopping there." She activated a new display screen that showed the delivery system they had designed. Instead of simply sending the modified bomb back to the aliens, they were attaching it to humanity's most advanced spacecraft. The vessel had originally been designed not for war, but for exploration and communication with other worlds. The spacecraft was equipped with the most powerful communication systems humans had ever built, along with scientific instruments that could analyze anything they encountered. By attaching the modified weapon to this peaceful vessel, they were sending a very specific message. "We're going to return their gift," Carter announced to the assembled team. "But we're going to include some improvements that we think they'll find very interesting." Dr. Walsh looked at the plans with excitement and worry. "Emily, this isn't just sending back their weapon. This is showing them that humans can take any technology and make it better, more flexible, and more dangerous." Carter smiled as she looked at the modified alien weapon, now enhanced with human engineering principles. "That's exactly the message we want to send. They tried to demonstrate their superiority. Instead, we're going to demonstrate human ingenuity." The team continued working, knowing they were preparing to send the aliens a lesson they would never forget. Admiral Vex walked back and forth across the bridge of his flagship, his forearms moving restlessly as his frustration grew stronger with each passing day. It had been 6 months since the demonstration weapon was launched toward Earth, and the humans had not sent a single message. No surrender, no pleas for mercy, no communication of any kind. The bridge of his ship was a marvel of alien technology, with control panels that responded to thought and displays that showed information in 3 dimensions. But despite all this advanced equipment, Vex could not understand what was happening in the human solar system. "Admiral," called out his communications officer from across the bridge, "we are finally receiving a transmission from the human system." Vex's mandibles clicked together in the sound his species made when they were satisfied. "Finally," he said with relief. "Display the message on the main screen." Instead of the expected message of surrender that Vex had been waiting for, the main screen showed a human woman standing in what appeared to be the control room of a spacecraft. She had graying hair and intelligent eyes, and her expression was friendly but confident. She did not look like someone who was about to surrender. "Greetings, Admiral Vex and the Hegemony Council," the woman began in a calm, professional voice. "My name is Dr. Emily Carter. Thank you for the educational opportunity you provided. We have spent the last 6 months studying your quantum cascade device, and we are very impressed by the engineering." Vex felt a cold sensation spreading through his chest cavity as the implications of what she was saying began to sink in. "Studying it?" he whispered. "How did they manage to study it? The weapon should have detonated months ago." Dr. Carter continued speaking from the screen, apparently unaware of the panic she was causing on the alien bridge. "We have made some modifications to your design that we think you will find very interesting. We are returning your weapon to you now, along with complete technical specifications showing exactly what improvements we made." Suddenly, every alarm system on the bridge began screaming at once. The tactical displays erupted with flashing lights and warning signals that filled the air with urgent sounds. Dr. Mills, the chief weapons engineer, rushed to her station with all 6 tentacles working frantically across multiple control surfaces. "Admiral," Dr. Mills called out in a voice filled with disbelief, "we have an incoming object from the human system. The energy signature is completely impossible according to our understanding of physics. The object that was approaching their fleet was clearly based on their original quantum cascade bomb, but the sensor readings showed capabilities that violated everything the aliens thought they knew about quantum mechanics. The weapon was not only more powerful than the original design, it was actively changing its configuration as it traveled through space. It's making copies of itself," Dr. Mills reported, her voice shaking with shock. "The weapon is using cosmic debris and space dust to create additional copies during its journey to our location." Admiral Vex watched the tactical displays with growing horror as his sensors showed not just one returning bomb, but an entire swarm of them. Each weapon was slightly different from the others as they adapted to local space conditions and available materials. "Activate all defensive measures," Vex ordered desperately. "Raise all shields. Prepare all weapons." His weapons officer looked up from his station with confusion and fear. "Sir, the devices are broadcasting a message directly into our quantum communication grid. They are somehow bypassing all our security protocols and speaking directly to our computer systems." The message that came through their most secure communication channels was simple but absolutely terrifying. "Greetings. We have improved your original design with self-replication capabilities, adaptive targeting systems, and variable yield controls. We have also included detailed technical specifications showing exactly how we modified your technology. Please note, we have no intention of detonating these weapons. This is purely an educational exchange between our species." Dr. Mills looked up from her instruments, and the bioluminescent patterns in her skin were flickering with panic. Admiral, they have not just improved our most advanced technology. They have made it capable of continuing to evolve and adapt on its own. The swarm of modified weapons took up positions around the entire hegemony fleet, maintaining perfect spacing between each device while continuously broadcasting technical data about their modifications. Each bomb demonstrated human innovations that the aliens had never even imagined: redundant backup systems, modular design that allowed parts to be swapped, and adaptive programming that could learn and change. The technical specifications being broadcast were incredibly detailed, showing exactly how humans had taken alien technology and made it better in ways that seemed impossible. The weapons could now repair themselves, adapt to different targets, build copies using any available materials, and modify their explosive power based on what they encountered. They turned our demonstration of power into a lesson about human engineering, Admiral Vex whispered in amazement and growing fear. The modified weapons continued to orbit around the alien fleet, not threatening to attack but clearly demonstrating that humans had taken the most advanced weapon in galactic history and made it infinitely more dangerous. The message was clear: giving humans advanced technology was not a way to intimidate them, it was a way to make them more powerful than anyone had thought possible. The tense standoff between the human weapons and the alien fleet lasted for 3 long hours. During this time, neither side moved or fired a shot. The modified bombs simply floated in perfect formation around the hegemony ships, continuously broadcasting technical information about their improvements. Finally, the alien weapons began transmitting their final message. Instead of exploding as everyone expected, each bomb projected a 3-dimensional image of Dr. Carter into the air. The holographic image appeared to be speaking directly to the bridge of each alien ship, as if she were actually standing there in person. Admiral Vex, Council Leader TSS, and distinguished members of the hegemony, Carter began with a warm smile, we want to thank you for introducing us to quantum cascade technology. Your device taught us principles of physics that we might not have discovered for many decades on our own. At that moment, Council Leader TSS appeared on Admiral Vex's main communication screen through an emergency transmission from the hegemony capital. His bioluminescent skin patterns were flickering rapidly, showing extreme agitation. Admiral, what have we done? He asked in a voice filled with worry. Carter's holographic image continued speaking, completely unaware of the panic she was causing throughout the alien fleet. However, we noticed some limitations in your original design that we have taken the liberty of addressing. Our modifications include adaptive yield control, self-replication using available materials, real-time targeting adjustment, and distributed intelligence networking. Dr. Mills was working frantically at her station, analyzing the detailed technical specifications that the weapons were broadcasting. Her 6 tentacles moved across multiple control surfaces as she tried to understand what the humans had done to their technology. Sir, Dr. Mills reported with growing alarm, according to this data, they have essentially created self-evolving bombs that can learn and adapt to any defensive measure we might deploy against them. Carter's holographic message continued with the same friendly tone. But more importantly, we have designed these weapons to be completely non-lethal in their current configuration. They are broadcasting our improvements to your technology as a gift, proof that human engineering can enhance even the most advanced alien designs. Admiral Vex suddenly realized with growing understanding what the humans had actually accomplished. They had taken the hegemony's ultimate weapon and turned it into a diplomatic message that demonstrated technological superiority without firing a single shot. It was perhaps the most elegant solution to a military threat that he had ever witnessed. Carter's image smiled warmly as she continued. We believe that 2 species capable of such advanced technology could accomplish great things as partners rather than adversaries. We are prepared to share our modifications to your quantum cascade technology in exchange for peaceful cooperation and open scientific exchange between our civilizations. The final part of the message was delivered not by Dr. Carter, but by a stern-looking military officer who appeared beside her. Of course, General Hayes said in a serious tone, we should mention that our modifications make these weapons capable of unlimited self-replication. We have essentially solved the problem of resource scarcity in weapons manufacturing. We thought you should know this information before making any decisions about Earth's territorial claims. Council Leader Thesis remained silent for several long moments, his skin patterns shifting through colors that showed deep thought and concern. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet and filled with a new respect. Admiral Vex, I believe we may have seriously underestimated this species. The quantum bombs maintained their positions around the hegemony fleet, continuing to broadcast detailed technical data while demonstrating capabilities that made them impossible to counter or destroy. The humans had essentially surrounded the galaxy's most advanced military force with weapons that could adapt to any defensive measure while providing complete documentation of how they had been improved. The alien fleet found itself in an impossible situation. They could not attack the weapons because they could adapt and multiply. They could not defend against them because the weapons could learn and counter any defense. Most importantly, they could not ignore them because the weapons were broadcasting proof that humans could improve any technology they encountered. "Sir," reported the communications officer from his station, "we are receiving a priority message from the hegemony capital. All territorial disputes with humanity are to be resolved through diplomatic channels immediately. Military action against Earth is forbidden." Admiral Vex stared at the swarm of improved human weapons surrounding his fleet and realized that in trying to demonstrate hegemony superiority, he had instead taught the galaxy the most dangerous lesson possible. Never give humans advanced technology and expect them to be intimidated by it. They would only study it, improve it, and send it back better than before. The holographic images of Dr. Carter and General Hayes faded away, leaving the alien fleet surrounded by weapons that represented human ingenuity applied to alien technology. The bombs continued their silent orbit, broadcasting technical specifications that showed exactly how humans had taken the pinnacle of galactic engineering and made it infinitely more capable. Admiral Vex understood that the balance of power in the galaxy had just changed forever. Humanity was no longer a primitive species to be intimidated. They were a technological force that could take any advanced design and improve it beyond recognition. The age of human-alien cooperation was about to begin, whether the aliens wanted it or not.